All right, our first step is gonna be to get some textures. I went around and took some photos around my house, and that's what I'll be using today. You can also do the same, or if you wanna use the textures that I have here, I'll put them on my shop. All right, so we're just gonna pick one. I'm gonna choose first this gritty cement photo that I have. I'm gonna swipe down with my 3 fingers and press copy. Then I'm gonna go back into Procreate and I'm gonna paste it in. I think there's other ways to import in Procreate, but for today, that's just what we're doing. All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make it a little bit larger so that it takes up the full space here. And then there's 2 different settings that you can do. The first one I'm gonna show you guys is called the overlay. So what you're gonna do is go into your layer settings. You're gonna change it from normal and you're gonna swipe down here to overlay. Now, obviously that's a lot of texture. So you might want to lower down the opacity so it's a little bit less intense here. I'll zoom in so you can see a little better. Here we go. And just make it a little less intense. And now if we go over our painting, we can see before and after. There's a little bit of like tooth, and it makes it look like it's actually on a textured paper, which is one of the reasons why I like to use texture in my paintings. It makes it feel a little bit more organic and less digital. Now you can just stop here and just do one texture over the entire image. Or what I'll be showing you is how to do different textures on different parts of your image. But first I want to teach you a little bit more about this overlay feature. So you'll notice that this texture doesn't adjust the value or the color of my image too much. But if this image here, we'll put it back to normal. If this image were colored, it would do that. So let's change it. Let's make it like a purple or something. If I put this on overlay, it now makes the whole image, even when I go here, like a little bit more of that purple color, especially you can see it over here, and especially if I do it that way. So you'll want to be careful to know whether or not your texture is colored. And if it is, just go into your saturation settings and turn it back to gray. Just slide it all the way to gray. And the other thing you want to look out for is how dark or light your texture is. If I make it darker, and we look at this normal, now this is a really dark texture, you'll notice it made my image darker as well. And since when we're putting the texture on, we don't necessarily want to make it darker or lighter. We just want to add a little texture. Again, you might need to adjust how dark or light your texture is. You want to go for something in the middle gray area. Like if this is black and this is white, you want to go right in the middle is where you want your texture to sort of fall. Okay, we'll look at that normal so you can see what that looks like. And then when I put it on overlay now, it's not making my image too much lighter or darker. It's mostly just adding that texture there. Okay, so now we're going to talk about adding texture just to certain parts of your painting. That way you can get more depth, because if you think about it, a window obviously has a different texture than the shutters, than the wall, etc. I'm not going to do it to every single object for the purposes of this video, but I am going to show you how to separate them to different parts. I already have my painting separated. So I have the leaves all on one layer. I have the window on another layer, etc. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my texture. I'm going to click it and I'm going to choose clipping mask. Again, this is in most digital art programs. They have a clipping mask feature. And now if we look here and we zoom in, we can see it's not affecting the shutters or the window. It's only on my painting, on the leaves. There we go. So now we have texture just on the leaves. And I'm gonna have a couple in here where I've already put them in here. So I have this cement texture just for fun. I'm gonna, again, do clipping mask and then do that on an overlay and lighten it a little as needed. And this one made it a little bit lighter than I wanted to. So like I was saying before, I'm gonna make it just a tad darker so that it doesn't adjust the values I have in my painting as much. There we go. Let's see what else we got. I also have some wood in here that I'll put on the shutters. And then overlay. Again, that's a little too intense, so we're gonna turn that down quite a bit. till just a hint of the texture there. All right, now for the second method. I'm gonna be adding this painterly texture onto my image, but I want you to notice what happens when I put it on overlay. You will notice that it affects everything except for this white area. And I do want some texture back there, but overlay won't impact white. So instead of using our overlay layer today, I'm gonna be using the multiply for this one. You'll notice it makes everything quite a bit darker. That's because multiply makes things darker. I'm gonna lower the opacity here again, just so it's not too intense. And I'm gonna actually have this be our very background layer. So I'm gonna drag it all the way down here. So it's just impacting the back. Now it is a little bit darker than I want to make the entire image. So I will just go into our adjustments, make it a little bit brighter. And there we go. So now I have just a little bit of texture in here from this layer that I wouldn't have been able to get if I had been using overlay. All right, and now let's see our before and after again. So this is what it looks like with our texture, and this is what it looked like before without any texture. I'll zoom out as well. No texture and with texture. So if you guys like this, again, I have these textures up on my shop for you. If you want me to do a video specifically about brushes, let me know, because that's the other way that you get texture. And otherwise, I'll see you guys around. If you want to give me a like or subscribe, I'm happy to have you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.